This is a review of Survivor Season 47, Episode 9, Nightmare Fuel. We have an entire Survivor recap ahead. I have with me, as always, Richie Becerra. Richie, we've had a few days to marinate on the episode. How excited are you to talk about Survivor on a Sunday?
Very excited. I do kind of like you said, you get to process the episode a little bit. So I think it'll be good that we get to talk about it today.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. We're going to rename the episode. We're going to do a Survivor press conference. What would we ask castaways if we could live right when the episode ended? Or we could ask Jeff a question. We're going to talk about which castaway's stock is up, which stock is down, as well as predict who goes home next week with a shot of alcohol on the line, as always. The housekeeping is that neither of us picked the castaway that went home this week in Saul, but we'll get into that. All that and more. The episode starts on the end of the Sierra blindside, which had just happened. Sam and Rachel really were the only two that were probably pro Sierra. We didn't see Rachel vote, of course, because she did that smart shot in the dark play. But something I noted that was interesting was we talked about it a lot with Tony, but how people come back to camp after Tribal speaks volumes to their game. And Sam brings a really interesting energy here because he literally says, "Thank you all for keeping me," which is, I got to imagine, is hard to bring yourself to do if you've been blindsided because you're just so defeated. Like, you saw your number one ally go home.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you would be able to bring that energy of, I guess, staying even keeled? And I mean, it's easy to say from the couch, but also just that humility of like, guys, I'm going to verbalize that I'm grateful you kept me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely easy to say like you would, but yeah, those emotions are going and you're feeling probably pretty petty, like I guess stabbed in the back. So I think it would be hard to do what he did. But I mean, great move by him, very smart. We get into it a little bit further down in the episode too, but like Saul even mentions that he made a good play, like not getting super butthurt about getting blindsided.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the attitude is so big too. And I think there maybe is this like element of like putting yourself on the bottom and verbalizing to everyone that you're on the bottom maybe makes you feel like less of a threat and people will want to send you home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. It's a good little note there I saw from Sam, and he had the good line about God, I got. And yeah, this was a really interesting time, especially with Andy being the one swinging, where this is the good part of the merge where tribe lines slowly start to go away. I mean, obviously Blue is still a powerhouse with who they have left. And then later in the episode, the next morning, Andy and Rachel are kind of reconnecting as they were on the Yellow Tribe before, but they never really were fully teammates and alliance members. Andy kind of reveals and shows that like his game has changed a lot. He's turned on Annika, he's turned on Sierra, and like he's making these moves. Well, I mean, Andy seems to kind of be the story of the season. Where are you at with Andy and how he's played?
I mean, even when we get back here, I think he's continuing to just play super hard. He tells Sam that he wants Sam to be there with him and he wants to keep playing with him.
Yeah.
And just like him talking to Rachel, even though he's like blindsided Rachel 2 different times.
Yeah.
Which I think she is a little bit weary of, but at the same time, she doesn't have the power right now to not go with whatever he wants to say. So she kind of has to go with it for sure.
Yeah, both of these two, I think, are really interesting points in their storylines that Rachel's like been in trouble a couple times, made that interesting move. And like I feel like people keep coming to Rachel and Rachel keeps getting great information. And I think I was critical of like, why didn't like she use that information when she was against all the other 5 Blue tribe members? But I mean, she was able to stay alive, of course, with safety without power. Got an ally in Saul there, but then loses Sierra. Interesting spot, but also like you just still feel like Rachel's a threat in a way that people are still trusting her and she's still just around, which is kind of crazy that so many shots have gone her way. Up next we get Tree Mail announcing how the next immunity challenge will go. They're reading it and they say that you right now all the tribe members need to pair up. There's 10 of them, so there's gonna be 5 pairs. What is your strategy in picking your pair? Do you go with someone, you're an alliance member, or do you want the 45-year-old Sue on your tribe because you want to stay strong? You know, how are you thinking about this? Because you want to win together, but you know one person's getting immunity.
Yeah, I think Caroline kind of made one of the better points. She said you want somebody that is going to help you get to that end part, but you also want somebody that you know you can beat if comes down to something like that too. Because I mean, at this point, they don't know exactly how it's going to play out. They just know they're
Yeah,
in a pair. So I think I would try to go with somebody who's strong, but not the strongest person out there.
yeah, yeah. Because Gabe had the mindset of like, yo, I mean, Kyle's won a bunch of challenges. I know
Hmm.
if I have Kyle, we're gonna do really, really well. But I'm like, yeah, but that also means that you probably will have a
Yeah.
showdown with Kyle. And I mean, that would have probably been inevitable anyway. But that seems to be a good strategy because once we get to the immunity challenge, Jeff lays out the kind of three different stages of the challenge. I love this challenge, by the way. I think I like the way it's staged. I like the way the stakes kind of lay out that the first two tribes that make it all the way to the end, they'll get a meal. The first two tribes out, they will lose their vote. Four members will lose their vote, and then the two in the middle, they just get their vote, but they
Yeah.
don't get a reward. I think that worked out well, and
Hmm.
it was interesting how it played out because again, like Sue is still in all these challenges. It's great, but they start off with the digging and crawling, and they talked about it on the podcast, but Sam and Andy decided to start pulling up their boards or whatever, and it ripped their bag or whatever it was, and so they thought, oh my gosh, this is a challenge malfunction. Jeff was saying in the moment they knew that like, oh no, these survivors, like they were trying something and they were being aggressive with the
Mm.
pieces and they ripped it. That wasn't anything we did. They stopped digging and they thought we've dug enough, so we're gonna pull, and they
Yeah.
ripped it themselves.
Okay.
So apparently that was a moment that was like, no, we knew right away, like calling the field. We're gonna
Yeah.
call it. Didn't have to go to replay, which I thought was interesting because they did stop and were like, Jeff, our bag ripped. And he's
Yeah.
like, too bad, keep going. Which I thought was interesting, and it just kind of shows like Andy and Sam, like them two always in challenges. It's their oh gosh, it's tough. You could put some like silly music under it. I
It's
feel
not
like
gone
do
well
their
for him
highlight
yet.
reel. Has not gone well. Then we get to the second stage, which is interesting because like I think I was just watching challenge design that like they have to run up and down these stairs and call out puzzles and like constantly running up and down those steps to then a balance beam is pretty like that's got to be a shock to the legs,
Oh,
a
for
shock to
sure.
your balance. Like your head has got to be spinning, going crazy. I was really like yeah, just appreciating that. And because those balance beams were not like, oh, you'll fall into sand. Though that net looked kind of low. That looked like something that would be pretty intimidating. We get a good comeback there in this section between Gabe and Kyle, which really with those balance beams, like speed has got to be everything. Just get across. Even
Yeah.
Sue bolted across. That was the way she got over. Kind of fell, but landed. Um, Gets there, they all make a break for it. Sue and Caroline do not make it to the end, but it's um who is it? It's Teeny, Saul,
Yeah. Teeny
Kyle,
Saul and
and
Kyle
Gabe.
Gabe. Yeah.
Then they make it to this final stage of the challenge where one person will win immunity. Man, of all of these like hang on challenges, like I think this one with the outside of your feet, like dude, I don't know if you know what bone that is or what part of the foot that is and why that's important or not, but that just sounds so painful, specifically just on the outsides of your feet.
Yeah, it
I
definitely
don't
would
think I
be
could hang.
painful. The one thing I didn't like about this though is I feel like that's such a classic Survivor competition. I don't like when not everyone gets to participate in that.
Oh yeah, interesting. Yeah, because because if you don't make it all the way to the end,
Yeah, they didn't even, I mean, they didn't even
yeah,
have a shot. It's not like it was one of the seasons where, hey, you can sit out and we'll give you rice or something. Like, they just didn't even get the shot, which I thought kind of sucked for those players. Like, you look forward to doing some of these iconic competitions and then
mm,
just don't even get the chance. Kind of sucks.
yeah, yeah. No, and how much do you think to the arms, especially by the end of it, like the arms and the core and the squeezing, were actually helping rather than the little nubs? Because I don't know, man. If you do this challenge, there's like you got to be limping
Oh,
for
yeah.
a while. Like this is I would hate to be a part of this challenge. I hate
It,
that one. Yeah, at one point Gabe even said politely, Jeff, don't talk to me. I thought that was funny. It's always good when they get a good backboard. And
hmm
Jeff seemed to respect it. He wasn't sassy right back. And he did say that too. It's someone asked him on the podcast, like, have you gone soft? Would old Jeff have been like, no, I am going to talk to you? But he said that when it's an individual game, he thinks that he would have done what he did there. But when it's a big tribe when it's the tribe
Okay.
game,
Yeah,
he would then be like, no, 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 this is a game.
that's
We're
fair.
playing this. You're going to respond to me. Um, and Jeff, right at the end, too, gives the old commentator's curse. He says, Kyle has been perfect this season, hasn't lost. Well, this would be 4 in a row. And then Kyle steps down. Gabe wins. We get the Ray Lewis ode, which has since gone a little as viral as we've gone
Yeah,
on
for
Twitter,
sure.
I'll
I
say.
would call it. I would call it
Um,
semi-viral.
with Gabe, even retweeting, being a part of it, loving it. What did you make of it in the moment? I mean, of course, it's a little cheesy, but it's like,
Definitely
I
cheesy, but I
mean,
mean, I think you wait however long you've been applying to go on the show, and you have these ideas and dreams about what it feels like to put that necklace around, and he's like, "This is what I want to do," and I mean, good for him. I mean, he played it out, executed it perfectly. So
yeah, dude. And if you're a Survivor fan and like you love the show, like and you're on the show and you get the necklace. This is the closest thing to feeling like Ray Lewis probably that he'll ever feel of just like this
yeah,
victory, this hype, this moment of adrenaline. And like this was a challenge you had to earn. There was so much like this one was just like an exhaustion taxing challenge, like digging through sand, climbing those stairs. And then the foothold thing. It was fun. It was a fun little moment. Um, but we get back to camp and group is eating. We see Genevieve and Rachel back at camp, and this is where Genevieve starts to pitch the idea that she wants to bring Saul home. I mean, this is right
hmm
after they're eating, but I didn't really see much from the eating that was all that interesting because really when the Saul plan comes up is when this episode gets going.
yeah,
What do you make of Genevieve and really being the leader of some of these moves? Like
oh yeah.
everyone's talking about how much they love Genevieve and just how her gameplay is getting up there with like laying low but also being devastating.
No, she's definitely, I think, been the leader, the showrunner of everything that's been going on. So you can't fault her at all for any of the moves she's making. She's not doing it over aggressively either. Like her name's not
Yeah.
at the one like, oh, she's the biggest threat, but meanwhile, she probably is.
Yeah. And even found that advantage a couple episodes ago too. Playing really well. The four castaways who lost their vote end up going, looks like, to Extinction Island. I don't know if they call it that. But they go there and man, I wanted to hype up the immunity challenge because I thought, dude, this Survivor Jenga was so lame. I couldn't
Yeah,
get over that like dude, we're on Survivor. Like we're playing Triangle Jenga. Like I don't know. Maybe yeah, whatever. The main challenge was epic, but to earn your vote back for it to be and they make it dramatic. They got the slow mo going down
hmm
and all that stuff. But
and I
to me,
mean,
I'm like,
yeah, I feel like a game like that almost is like a game of chance.
right,
It's not a whole lot of skill to stack a block like that. It's just going to come down to once it gets high enough, who's going to put the last one on.
yeah. I mean, I like a journey, and maybe it's like a puzzle, like
hmm
timer or something. Once they get there, maybe it's a little more interesting. But Survivor Jenga just didn't sit well with me. But ultimately, it kind of didn't matter because Caroline loses her vote. She comes back, and the whole group comes back to this plan that is we're suddenly going for Saul, even though Kyle lost immunity, and that seems like the obvious vote. Really was kind of mentioned, but
hmm
in all the scrambling, we see Genevieve suddenly bring in Andy, and then Genevieve brings in Rachel, but then Rachel brings in Sam,
And
and then we get the chaos.
that's where it
And
goes haywire.
this is what you have to do if you're Sam and your ally just went out, and you maybe feel like you're next because you're a physical threat. Without He's
hmm
lost a vote already. He's keeps losing immunity challenges. He's not doing as well as maybe one would think, and blows up Rachel's spot almost instantly. Do you think you'd pull this quick, that fast too? Not even very subtle.
I think that was a smart play. I don't know if I would have thought to do it that quick, honestly. I think I would have been like maybe taking some time to process and think about what me doing this is going to cause to spiral out. But I mean, great job by him. I mean, yeah, we talked about it, I think a couple episodes ago. Like sometimes when your back is against the wall, all you can do is cause chaos and stir up lies and try to make people think that something else is going on so that the target goes from you to somebody else. So great job by Sam.
Yeah, great job by Sam. Brings it to Saul. Saul is pretty confused. Sue's name comes up as kind of the new target for them. And yeah, what they kind of make it all seem like here is that everything got blown up 20 minutes before Tribal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, oh, there was a clear plan. It was going to be Saul. Everyone was kind of on board. This was going to be sneaky. No one was going to expect it. Then we get to Tribal, and it does end up being a pretty live Tribal with lots
Mm-hmm.
of whispers, lots of, faces being made at each other, people saying names to each other. But, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you saw from Tribal or want to highlight, but the way the vote ends up being, it's just insane to me that like there is all this confusion.
Oh, I mean, I was shocked that it was Saul. You think because even after they're all talking to each other, it was like, oh, no shot, it's gonna be him. It's gonna be either between Sue or Kyle. But I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I do wish like you could hear a little bit more about what they were talking in those little moments. Like I wish they were mic'd up or something. But I love a
yeah,
live tribal, so that was fun.
yeah. No, it was great, and like Teeny was very clearly like the most devastated by the vote, the most like intense, like paranoid during everything, and like at the beginning of it all, like Saul was like to Genevieve, like, "Hey, we're going Sue, right?" And
Hmm.
then Genevieve looks at him and goes, "Wait, you said Kyle?" And it's like, yeah, did they all know? Did like that's my Survivor press conference question?
Hmm.
Is like, did the vote actually change at all, or was
Oh
everyone
yeah.
just good on Saul? And it was all kind of like, oh no, everything's in a frenzy now. It's like,
Hmm.
is it? Because like again, it's pretty crazy to have a unanimous vote again at 10 people,
Yeah.
um, where yeah, Saul goes home 5-1. Um, Pretty nuts. Like it's kind of wild to see that Saul like getting a lot of love online too. Like he was so fun to watch. It was crazy that I neither of us thought he was going home next. Like he seemed to be one that was in a decent enough spot because
Hmm.
again the blue tribe is still so strong. Like
It's
Kyle was
crazy,
this
dude.
seemingly obvious threat.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, dude, Saul after having a really good episode too of sending over reward. Any other thoughts on Saul? You think you'd want to see him again, or I don't think he had enough time. I think he needed a
Yeah.
couple more episodes.
I think he was good. I just don't know if I'd want to see him again. I think there's been so many great players, even from this season. I think there's probably 4 or 5 people I'd rather see play again over him, even though I did like him.
Yeah. Hopefully, Saul is proud that his final episode had to do with a burping battle, which I'll take a burping battle over a Taylor Swift song reference battle any day of the week. Well, all right, awesome. Saul gone now. A member of the jury. Interesting. A red tribe member and a yellow tribe member now sit on the jury.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Survivor press conference. Yeah, mine is. Yeah, did the vote change at tribal? That
Hmm.
goes to anyone. Maybe it goes to Genevieve. Like maybe it's Teeny. Like, but someone tell me like, did anyone shift? Because even like Gabe looked really like comfortable and like knew what was gonna happen, and that vibe just wasn't really there for anyone else.
Hmm.
So that's my question. And yeah, I would really love to know. I don't know, just that main challenge. If it was meant to tax you in a certain way, that like yeah, your feet are hurt by the end of it anyway, and like this is endurance, and it's like pushing, and it's meant to exhaust you, and then
Yeah.
mentally by the end break it down. If that's how they do it, because it feels like that's kind of how it goes. But what's your question?
My
Survivor
question
press.
is for Genevieve, and I would want it to be just like a one-on-one or like no other like tribe mates around. I would want to ask her if she feels like she is running the game right now.
Yeah,
Because I feel like she hasn't
100%.
been even too cocky about it, but she knows that she's making big moves. So I would like to hear like what her thoughts after this episode specifically were.
Well, I think this is like the moment in the podcast where we bring something back because that was one of the best parts of old Survivor is when they would do the questionnaires and it would say, who is running this game? And everyone got to vote and then everyone would answer
Mm,
the question. And
yeah.
that really was an interesting thing they used to do. And it was, I feel like it was down to about final nine, like, where it was like, who is the most annoying? And there was something like that. Like it would get
Yeah.
intense. It'd be like, who is the provider at camp? And
Who has
like
no
there was
shot to
some
win?
who has no chance. Yeah, who is not a threat in this game. And that would always added some really interesting wrinkles. And then they got to go smash the plates
Hmm.
and all that stuff. Um, I think that's good. And that was an interesting way to, gauge everybody. And then to gauge, then go, oh my gosh, wait, this is what everyone thinks. Now this game's going to change again.
Yeah,
I wonder if they could bring that back in some way or another because
that'd be
that would
fun.
be sick. Okay, cool. Stock up, stock down. Who do you got?
My stock up is going to be Sam, and I think I'm not saying he's like back up to the top, but from where he was such at the bottom the last episode, getting blindsided, almost going home, and then kind of stirring this whole thing up right
Yeah.
before tribal, even though it didn't end up saving Saul, I think still just that brought his stock up a little bit for me.
Yeah, he's playing hard, but it's like a smart hard,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Yeah, I like Sam as a pick. I wasn't gonna put Sam, but I think it's Genevieve.
Yeah.
Which like ultimately the Saul blindside happened, and that started with Genevieve, and Genevieve brought it up to Andy. Like she clearly was the one bringing it up, and yeah, I still think she might be flying under the radar. It's hard to tell. Even I think Genevieve was the one that said in this episode, like, I'm glad that Sam and Kyle are still in the game because you can always keep them as look,
Hmm.
they're the number one threat. Let's get
Yeah.
them out. And to get Saul out was just clearing the decks a little more. I think great move. I think a lot of people agree with that one, and maybe a good pick to win. But again, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. Stock down. Who do you got?
Stock down, I'm going with Caroline. I don't think
Hmm.
she's done like too much of anything. She almost seems happier like being happy when other people make a big move instead of her.
Yeah,
So I just don't
yeah.
see in any scenario right now where she could win this game, even if she makes it to the end.
Yeah, she's kind of seeming like a step behind, even when,
Hmm.
as things are happening around her. She seems to be enjoying the game though. That's again fun to see.
True.
We love that. That's a good pick. I actually went with Teeny because I was talking with like a coworker about it, but like 'cause he was saying like, "Oh, Teeny's my favorite. I want Teeny to win," but I'm like, dude, Teeny has like turned on every ally.
Yeah.
Like she's had, and like
Hmm.
the way like she was carrying herself at tribal too, I was like, that is not a great look if you
Yeah.
can't like handle this because the game's only going to get harder, and like blindsides are going to become more and more intense. And I don't know, I'm like that is not a great look, and that doesn't mean that Teeny's going to get voted out, but I think Teeny right now is the best third person to bring to the tribal. Maybe Caroline
Hmm.
is right there too, but yeah,
Yeah.
if we're talking like who do you want to bring to final three that you know will be safe? I feel that as Teeny right now,
I like that.
um, because yeah, and I thought this would be an easy automatic Kyle vote, so it's hard to say that Kyle is, you know, feeling like he's in too tough of a spot because it feels like people want to play a little bit.
Yeah.
But he's also sounds like he's down to do whatever it takes to stay alive. All right, let's rename the episode. Would you go with? I thought Nightmare Fuel was pretty good. That was Andy
It
talking
was good. I went
to me.
with what Sam said kind of at the beginning with God, I got, and you mentioned that earlier. I just thought it flowed really well. I think that was a. I know they don't put like the tribe names a lot in the episode, but I think that could be a good one.
Yeah, that's good. I was thinking there was gotta cause chaos, all that stuff, but I like please don't blow up my spot,
And then
because
proceeds to blow up her spot.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Please don't blow up my
That's
spot. I
good.
think that's a good title name. Um, yeah, but I Nightmare feels pretty good too from Andy. All right, well let's decide who goes home on episode 10. Gosh, episode 10. That means we're coming down to it.
Yeah. I mean,
Who do you got?
it's got to be a member from the Blue. I mean, it has to be. So they made it seem almost like people were too big on Kyle. I'm gonna go with Gabe.
Yeah, then maybe Kyle wins another
Yeah.
immunity and goes to Gabe. Well, dude, it's weird that like Sue's name kept getting thrown out too. I was like, man, okay, so maybe they are on to Sue.
Hmm.
Because when Sam, that was the first name he brought up, maybe he just thought that, oh, if I throw Sue out here, she's not gonna come
Yeah.
out after me. But it's just so funny. Yeah, Sue wanted to get Kyle out so bad. um, yeah, I'm actually putting Genevieve down. I think
Ooh. Okay.
because stock is up. Maybe I just feel like Genevieve's been skating, playing so great, and people haven't been
Hmm.
noticing that. In the same way that Saul went home this time, it'll be a like, whoa, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think maybe they'll catch on to it, and if it's not Genevieve, like maybe like a Rachel or someone.
Okay.
Um, but I'm going with Genevieve, and you're taking Gabe.
Yep.
That's fine. All right, that's
Okay.
fine. Well, okay, and I mean, we kind of talked about it last week, but like, yeah, who do you think is fan favorite right now?
With Saul going home, I think it moves honestly probably to Genevieve.
Yeah, probably does.
I think people like her. I mean, I like her a lot.
I
She
mean,
hasn't been overbearing. She's not like a villain type.
yeah, Kyle's been pretty likable too, but he's just like he's kind of got the like. Yeah, he's just sort of like a sweet guy, but he's winning
Hmm.
challenges. But he's just really honest every time he's on camera
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
The vegetarian angle is kind of interesting. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm hoping it's Gabe, but the fact that his popularity is 4%. Apparently, it's at 6%
Oh, okay.
in those charts.
Going
So he's
up.
gone up that much, mostly because Saul's gone now.
Yeah.
So he took up you got to take a vote somewhere. You know what I mean? Winning the swing states. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. All right. Well, we'll be back for episode 10 next week.
Jeez.
We'll see you there.